coffee. Hey everyone, thanks for stopping by. Jerrel here from Sungrand, the developer of the Silver Falls games. Today I wanted to discuss the topic with you, how to ruin your characters and really upset your audience. So, all of us have our favorite movies, TV shows, video game series, and we've all stuck with these series even as new writers and new creators and new producers come on board and take control of the stories and the characters that we really enjoyed and ruin them. I'm sure that you don't even need to think very hard before you can think of a franchise where your characters were ruined. This is a topic that I feel quite passionate about, and it has always been a driving factor for me when creating the Silver Falls series. From the very beginning, I knew that one of my absolute top priorities would be creating stories and characters that I wouldn't ruin at any point. And I wanted to build a sense of trust with my audience that I would not ruin the characters that they enjoyed. One of the easiest ways to ruin a character is to give the story to a writer who doesn't care about the story and who doesn't care about the characters. So there are different stages when it comes to creating and writing. There are different stages for whoever's creating that, let's say the writer. So when you create something new that no one has seen before, you're introducing people to a new IP. For example, 3 Down Stars. I introduced people to Silver Falls. I introduced people to characters that they had never met and stories that they had never heard before. That story belonged to me because I was creating it for the first time, and this was the first time that people had seen those characters. This is also why I introduce new characters and new stories with each game, so that you, as the audience, get to embark on this journey at the same point as me. This is the first time you're meeting those characters. It's the first time you're enjoying those stories. But once you have embarked on that journey with those characters, and once the audience has shared a portion of that journey with those characters, the story no longer belongs to the writer. It no longer belongs to the creator. That story and those characters from that point belong to the audience. They belong to the people who have enjoyed and experienced those stories and those characters. And this is something that I think the vast majority of writers and creators that we see in modern media do not understand. They do not grasp that concept. I know that you are probably thinking of a few movie series and a few game series. We're probably all on the same wavelength here. I don't want to target any particular franchise, and I don't want to focus on any kind of negativity. But there have been writers who have taken control of franchises that you and I enjoy, and they ruin those characters because those writers do not understand. Those writers think, I have now been given control of Star Wars. Oops, I'm not going to say that. And they think, great, Star Wars is mine. Pardon my French here, but screw everyone else. It doesn't matter what anyone else wants out of Star Wars. Oops, I said it again. The only thing that matters is what I want and what I want to do with Star Wars because it belongs to me now. It's my franchise. I said that like a little whiny baby. I'm not bitter at all. Don't worry about it. And that is where creators and writers go very, very wrong, because those stories and characters don't belong to them. They belong to you, the audience. And that is how the things that we enjoy get ruined. One of the things that writers need to consider is what the audience wants, what the audience expects, and what the audience needs in order to enjoy a follow-up story. For example, in 3 Down Stars, we are introduced to Holt, Annalise, and Moss. This was the entry point to Silver Falls for many people. And so when you embark on this journey, you experience that story with Holt, Annalise, and Moss, and the other characters in that story as well. When we move on to follow-up stories that take place after 3 Down Stars, I understand that what the audience wants is they want to see Holt, Annalise, and Moss together. The appeal of those characters is that we were introduced to those characters together. They have now a shared history that doesn't just include those three characters. That shared history now includes the audience, the people that have experienced that. So when the audience sees those three characters together, the audience feels like they are there with those characters, and there is a sense of catharsis, a sense of comfort, and a sense of belonging and progression when they see those characters again together later on at different points in those characters' stories. It is very important to consider this. So I understand the characters want to see Holt, Annalise, and Moss. The difficulty is having to include those characters together can pigeonhole writers into forcing and fabricating situations where those characters have to be together. So there is difficulty and challenge there. The way I get around this is by writing stories that focus on other characters which, incidentally, organically include those characters. The follow-up story to 3 Down Stars is Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers, which stars Gus Ironcock, a totally different character that had nothing to do with the events of 3 Down Stars. Incidentally, Holt, Annalise, and Moss are implemented in that story in a way that is organic. And it also allows the audience to again see Holt, Annalise, and Moss together and experience those characters. And it is up to the player to actually organically build their own team, and they can include characters from 3 Down Stars. This is also something that I considered with Guardians and Metal Exterminators, as that was also many people's entry point to Silver Falls. People have messaged me from all over time and time again and let me know that they really enjoyed building their Guardians team again, and they were able to have Winnie, Oxa, and Gold, but they felt something was missing, and the character that people seem to really like from Guardians and Metal Exterminators is Shauna. And people have messaged me and said, hey, where's Shauna? I really want to build my Guardians team. And when I let people know that Shauna was not in Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers, they were they felt like it was a real bummer. And I said she could have potentially appeared in that, but I was so pressed for time. Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers and Ruby River were such massive games, and I work on these games on my own. I'm a solo developer, and I actually originally intended Shauna to appear, but I didn't have time to create her character model and to create her modern day look, and that's the reason why Shauna did not appear in Gaiden Deathly Delusion Destroyers. So that's a bummer for me because I really wanted to include that character. People have told me that they really enjoy Shauna and they wanted to have their perfect Guardians team when they have their team of 4. And so that's something that I had considered, that we got really close to seeing that, but at least you got to see part of the team. But it also, I understood that there was potential for people to see those characters together in the future. Because people saw 3 of those characters from Guardians and Metal Exterminators, they naturally understood, okay, so potentially, if there's a game in the future, potentially Shauna could appear in that, and then I can have my Guardians team. And this might be a minor spoiler, but for the upcoming Road Past Guilt, which is a JRPG in the Silver Falls universe, that actually will include Shauna. So you actually will be able to build your perfect Guardians team, and you can have your Guardians reunion there. But that is something that you need to consider. There is a balance between just mindless fan service and organic storytelling that builds a sense of progression, and you get to see these characters' lives continue forward after you embarked on the journey with them. That's something that is extremely special that I think many writers don't consider, because I see it mishandled time and time again, and it is very, very frustrating for me. So as a writer, it's something that I work very hard to work on. How to ruin your characters is to take your character that people understand, people have a connection to these characters, and they understand that these characters think a certain way, they behave a certain way, and when they see a character in a situation, people naturally think, I've got a pretty good idea how this character will respond to this situation. How you ruin that character is to then have that character respond to a situation in a way that makes no sense, that's illogical, that is not consistent with what the audience expects. That is the absolute best way to ruin your character. So, I'm not going to bring up movies or franchises. I think we all know what we're thinking of. So I'll just stick to Silver Falls. Let's say, for example, we are all... what I'm trying to think of one of the more popular games that we had. I think Guardians and Metal Exterminators, I tend to hear about that game from many people who really enjoy the game. So let's say we understand that Oxa and Gold, they started this story out on a blind date together. It didn't go well, and then they had a bit of progression with their friendship. And I don't want to have any spoilers here, but there reaches a point where Gold decides he will help Oxa no matter what he has to do. He'll stick with her, and Oxa stands by her decision to defend the ranch, defend the farm, and she appreciates Gold for helping him with that. So we understand Gold works in a certain way. Gold seemed a bit selfish in the beginning of the story, and when he understood Oxa and her motivations, he had a change of heart. So Gold is someone who is quite loyal, but he needs a good reason for taking action. So if Gold understands someone's situation, he's willing to accept that maybe he was wrong, and he'll help them. So what if at some point, there are people that really enjoy Gold. So what if there were future events where a similar situation came up, and Gold instead responded by saying, well, okay, I get where you're coming from, but I think you're stupid. I'm not going to help you. No, I'm just going to leave now. That is something that would upset people, because then they would say, well, that's not Gold's character. That's not what Gold would have done. People understand Gold. They see that he's quite compassionate, and they see, well, he's this kind of person. I understand that. I can relate to that. So I expect him to make decisions a certain way. So let's say I made Silver Falls Road Past Guilt, and Gold had a chapter there where someone was in trouble, and Gold had the option to stay and help them or leave. And Gold would have, at that point, Gold said, oh, there's too many dangerous animals here. I'm not feeling it. I think I'm just going to go back to safety, and you can handle it on your own. That's not what Gold would do in that situation. But how I could ruin Gold's character is if I write that. If I write that into the story and said, okay, this is the decision that Gold has made. He's now leaving that character on their own. He's not going to help them deal with these dangerous creatures. That's how you ruin a character. You make the character just not do the thing that people know that character would do. And that is what we're seeing so often. And lastly, the easiest way to ruin your characters is to take characters that people go on a journey on together and separate those characters. One of the easiest tricks and most common tricks that we see in writing is to have the trio of characters. Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, Ron Weasley. We want to see them together. They work great together. If you separate them, it's not that interesting. People want to see those characters together. If I were to make Silver Falls games repeatedly where Holt never meets up with Annalise, never meets up with Moss, and every game just had them separate, it would really irritate people. And that is how you can really aggravate your viewers. I'll just come out and say it. I'll switch the names here. What if we had Princess Maya and Bon Solo and Duke Skywalker, and they were best friends, and we joined these characters when they were all traveling together on a spaceship. We went on 3 wonderful adventures with them, and we got to spend time in the spaceship together. And let's say like 30, 40 years later, we make a sequel for Duke Skywalker, Princess Maya, and Bon Solo, but we keep them separate from each other. We never let these characters meet each other again. We never let them go on an adventure together, which makes it feel like the audience never actually gets to catch up with them again. It's frustrating, isn't it? Now I'm just going to adjust my lighting real quick as the sun is setting here. Let's go ahead and fix up our lighting here. There we go. So I think you can understand how frustrating it can be to withhold what the audience actually wants. So don't do that. How to avoid ruining your characters is don't do that. It doesn't matter what you want as a writer. When you are continuing the story of characters that people have already started an adventure with, you better give the audience what they want, because those characters and those stories don't belong to you as the writer. It doesn't matter how famous you are, it doesn't matter how many millions of dollars you are. Those characters don't belong to you. They belong to the audience. And this isn't a rant video, this isn't a criticism of anything in particular. This is a topic that I feel strongly about, and it is always at the forefront of my process when I'm creating and writing stories. It is also why almost every single Silver Falls game starts with a new cast of characters with a new story, because it allows me to start fresh with a story that belongs to me, and I can embark on that adventure together with all of you. You get to start a new adventure with these characters. So that is part of my process when it comes to creating the Silver Falls games. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed discussing that topic, and I hope you'll check back again soon. I am working on the HD remaster of Guardians and Metal Exterminators, which will be coming to Nintendo Switch later this year, which will also be followed by Silver Falls Face Takers. So I hope you're ready to embark on some fun new adventures and get your face taken. Take care, everyone. I'll see you again soon.